Hi everybody, it's Tammy with a modding video for Toa Helrix. In this video I'm going to show you some tweaks I've made to improve the articulation and stability of the model, but let's start by reverting her back to something closer to her original form. So this is the soon to be canonised base model built by TGV channel user the_double. At the time of recording, the contest hasn't finished for the final Helrix artwork yet, and the mass design hasn't been decided, so I'm just using a stand-in for now. I haven't gotten all of the black hose pieces either, but that won't affect what we're talking about today. Speaking of hoses, let's get on to our first tweak. In the original design, the hose from the left arm piece goes around the back of the model and attaches into the mouth of a black Toa Mata headpiece. Unfortunately, the small axle hole in the headpiece is already occupied by a 2-length axle attaching it to the body, and so it's very difficult to have both the axle and the hose fit in there securely. Luckily, it's an easy fix to simply plug the hose into pretty much anywhere else in that area, such as the shoulder joint or somewhere lower on the back. Next up, knees. The default design gives almost no articulation and gives Helrix a serious case of arthritis. To fix this, switch out the 2-length lift arms and replace with 3-length versions. This will allow space for a much wider range of movement. Unfortunately, I've only got enough pieces to do one leg right now, so she can bend the knee and look quite dramatic, but she'll have to wait a bit before she can do squats. Next up is something a little optional, but I know it's very popular, and that's weapon storage. By switching out one of the 2-length pins in the torso build for a 3-length pin, it allows you to clip the mace onto Helrix's back, and you can slide the shield on as well. This will leave the arms free for posing. And now, onto the arms. The original model had some very loose connections and parts are always falling off. So I've got a few options here for you depending on what your preferences are. Some focus more on rebuilding the upper arm, some focus more on the lower. The first build here is just for the upper arm and uses a version of the 1-finger connector with an axle hole instead of the pin like on the original. This will make the build more solid, although it will sacrifice the bicep swivel articulation. One step up from this design restores that articulation, however it does require almost a complete rebuild of the upper arm portion of the model and requires a few pieces that are a bit newer and not included in the G1 Barnacle sets. Now the advantage of these two builds is that they don't affect the lower arm, so you can still use the 2-fingered slicer / Toa Mata hand style from the original design. However, I'm now going to show you my preferred design, which requires a subtle rebuild of the upper arm and a complete rebuild of the lower forearm, and I think you'll find that this is much better. So as you can see, this uses a ball joint for the elbow, which means that you have a much greater range of articulation at the elbow joint, and I think it also helps by just adding a bit of bulk to that part of the model that was otherwise looking just a little bit too spindly for my liking. There isn't quite enough space under the armour to securely fit the hose piece in using a Technic pin. However, you can use a 1x1 round plate with a hollow stud in your preferred colour and it fits in very nicely. With this build you can't easily use the old style of hand. Personally that doesn't bother me because I must confess I never really liked that hand design. I just think it looks weird. It isn't actually very useful for holding things, and it was just kind of a holdover from Slicers as Barnacle was finding its feet. The good news with this build is that nothing should fall out, and you can just use a standard socket joint if you like, to make it consistent with the vast majority of other G1 models. Or, you can do what I do, and use a Hero Factory fist piece, which I know may be heresy for some of you, but I really like these pieces, and I think it makes the models just come to life a little bit more. These upper arms require a second piece just below the blue matter head to stabilise them and stop them wobbling about. You can use a 1x1 tile or a plate in your choice of black or blue, or you can do what some designs in the art contest have done, and you can use a trans neon green piece to turn these shoulders into a kind of heart light system, which I think looks really cool and adds just a little bit of pop to the model. I'm really happy with how the model actually looks now with these fixes in place, and I can't wait for the final mass design to be decided so I can finally learn how to print my first 3D piece to finish the model off. I'm still not happy with how the feet tend to fall off from the ankles and the restricted movement there, so I might try and make an uploaded video in the future if I find a better alternative. Thank you for watching. I hope you find this video helpful. Let me know if you've had any ideas or improvements for Toa Helrix, and I'll hopefully see you soon for another video.